When we were looking for our next head coach and it came down to Antonio Pierce and Jim Harbaugh, I asked one question to the nation, and the question was this: do we want to get somebody who has been a proven winner in the National Football League as a head coach in Jim Harbaugh, but will surefire strip things down to the studs and rebuild again? Or do we want to take a chance that instead of going for the 60-year-old version of Jim Harbaugh, we find the next young in his prime version of Jim Harbaugh, of John Madden? And Mark Davis led an interim walk out of the building last time. And I've said before, Rich Bisaccia and Antonio Pierce are two very different players. I didn't want Mark Davis to get swayed by the fans and the media to hire Antonio Pierce just because he didn't hire Rich Bisaccia. The rest, as we know, is history. Mark Davis says no thank you to Jim Harbaugh. He goes Antonio Pierce, but he didn't hire him because he thought it was the right thing to do in terms of keeping the interim here because the players would be upset. He hired him because he saw what we are all seeing right now. And what we are seeing is the next great Las Vegas Raiders head coach. We're yet to see what kind of stamp Antonio Pierce has put on this roster in terms of a style of play, and that's not going to happen until the season. But if you watch the way he answers questions, you can tell he was made to be the head coach, not only of the Las Vegas Raiders, but a great head coach in the National Football League. They asked him about the coin flip, and he said, point blank, end of story, I only talk about Raiders. If that was Josh McDaniels, who was asked about the coin flip, if Hondo was like, hey, Josh, we heard that maybe there was a coin flip between Brock and Terrion Arnold. Can you speak a little to that and maybe debunk the rumors right here, right now? Josh would have pretended like he was hurt. He would have been like, well, yeah, it's an unfortunate story. And, yeah, we're really not going to discuss things that happen outside of the locker room. All we would like for you to know is that, we love Brock. We love having him here in the building. He's a great player. And, we're just going to go out on Sunday and try to score some points with Brock Bowers. And Antonio Pierce was like, man, shut up. We're not what? You think we flipped the coin? Next question. Raiders only. You see the patch? Raiders only in this arena, in this facility. And the next time someone thinks about asking a question like that, there's the freaking door. He didn't say that, obviously, but that's what he meant. I can't get my head on straight now. And look, I was a criticizer of Antonio Pierce during the season because I thought he didn't do a lot of things well. He did a lot of things, amazing, and it was the reason why the season was able to be salvaged and watched by us and enjoyed, and we almost damn near made the playoffs. We beat the Chiefs Christmas Day. Hallelujah. But there were some things he did wrong. There was a couple time management things, a couple personnel things that I didn't necessarily love. And wrong is, who am I to say it was wrong? I didn't love the way he handled some situations. He was an interim. He was a rookie first-time head coach, so these things are going to happen. But what he did that I had never seen an interim do before is he immediately went out and brought guys into the building that have been in big-time playoff and Super Bowl-type scenarios and said, please help me out. I want to keep this job. This is my dream job. How do I go about these situations? He brought in a Tom Coughlin. He brought in a Marvin Lewis. Now, this offseason, he brought in a Joe Philbin. 3 guys who have been there, done that at different stages of the National Football League, from winning a couple games to win a lot of games to winning Super Bowls. Antonio Pierce knows what he doesn't know. And you've seen that with this draft. I'm sure he would have loved to pull the Ricky Williams, trade every draft pick for Jaden Daniels. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. And Tom Telesco had to say, look, AP, this is what we can give up. This is who we can take at this pick. This is how we can do this. And he had to go, you know what? You've been there. You've done that. I know I'm a rah-rah guy, but at the end of the day, we're not building a roster just for this year. We're building a roster for every single year after that me and you, Telesco, get to have these jobs. So we got to find ways to win games now and prepare ourselves for the future. And that's exactly what he did with the Brock Bowers selection. And Antonio Pierce, while being the perfect mouthpiece for Raider Nation and for Max Crosby and for Devontae Adams and for all these blue chip guys to talk a certain way, but to go behind closed doors and handle himself in such a professional manner is a rare combination in the National Football League. It's Mike Tomlin, it's Dan Campbell. It's the exact kind of coach you want to root for. You can get guys who personalities stink but are absolute geniuses up here, like Kyle Shanahan. You can get guys who absolutely love the game of football in such a way that it kind of turns you off, like a Sean McVay. Or you can get a motivator of men who surrounds himself with the people who love football at a heightened level to where they can figure out ways to move chess pieces around, like a Luke Getsy, like a Joe Philbin, like a Marvin Lewis, like a Patrick Graham. And Antonio Pierce is the exact right coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm planting my flag in the ground that not only will we have a good season next year, but he will get a big-time contract extension at some point down the road to be the Las Vegas Raiders coach for the foreseeable future. His job security will no longer be in question. I absolutely believe this guy. And when he was asked, I forget who it might have been, maybe Paul Gutierrez, I don't know, by somebody who asked him, you know, you're in a division now with Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, Andy Reid. It's going to be tough to prepare for. That's got to keep you up at night. What are your thoughts on that? And he goes, I see it the other way. We're going to keep them up at night. We're going to be tough to prepare for. And that's what it's all about when you hire a new head coach, because you can go out there and get the proven commodity, like I've said, or you could find the next great proven commodity. And say what you want about Josh McDaniels. He sucked at almost every level of head coach. Great coordinator, scored a lot of points that first year with Derek and Devontae and Josh Jacobs. The one thing he did to really help us in the future is hire Antonio Pierce. And if you go back and watch highlight plays from this past season or the season before that, Josh McDaniels is right there calling the play. But you know who's right next to him, always in the mix, celebrating with the players? Antonio Pierce, in his hoodie with the headset on as a measly linebacker coach. He was always setting himself up to be the guy, to motivate the guys, to go make the plays for Josh McDaniels, which is not said enough. And I've seen people dismiss Antonio Pierce and dismiss Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. And like I've said before, I've said my piece on the AOC thing. I feel the same way about AOC that I feel about him. I think they're a package deal. I think they believe in each other. And he said time and time again, Aiden O'Connell is getting the first team reps. And I believe every word that comes out of AP's mouth. I never believed all the words out of John Gruden's mouth. I didn't believe a single word out of Josh McDaniels' mouth. I believe every word that this guy says. If Aiden wasn't good enough to get first-team reps, he wouldn't be getting first-team reps. He doesn't owe anybody anything unless they've earned it. And that's why I believe in Aiden O'Connell, because he's shown me that he does, by how we've drafted people and by how he's talking about them. And I'm done making grand predictions about the quarterback position. I said in the last video, you'll see, we'll all see when the season starts who's starting and how well they play. But besides the point of who's going to be under center, I'll tell you this much. It's going to be really tough for offenses to score on us. I don't care if you're the Chiefs, the Lions, the Ravens, the Bengals, the 49ers, anybody with the great offense that I've let out, that I've left off the list. It's going to be tough for you to score. You might score, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be painful. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be meticulous and tedious. It's going to be a nightmare for you to play the Las Vegas Raiders defense, which is going to be top 5 this season under the tutelage and motivation of the next great head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Antonio Pierce. And speaking of the way Antonio Pierce handles himself during these press conferences, he doesn't even give the level of Dan Campbell sound bites that you might expect a first-time head coach to be made fun of. Now, since then, Dan Campbell has steadily improved to the point where they should have been in the Super Bowl. So the stuff that he says now is endearing. Even at the time, people were making fun of him for saying, we're going to be biting kneecaps. Now everybody loves him. Isn't that interesting how the world works? Antonio Pierce doesn't even go that far. He's just to the point and confident in his words. What are your thoughts on the coin flip? We talk about Raiders. Next question. He didn't even want to mention anything about having a fun idea with his magic 8-ball that Telesco said, blah, blah, blah. He's like, nah, we're not talking about this. We're not here for you to get a soundbite from me to run to ESPN or Fox or whatever and now do a cool headline about how wacky Antonio Pierce is off his rails as the first-time interim and all the power has gone to his head and blah, blah, blah. No. You'll see how I feel about Brock Bowers on Sunday when he catches 2 touchdowns and rushes for 30 yards and receives 18 balls and 180 yards. You'll see how we use the corners we've drafted and why we didn't want Terrion Arnold because we got Brock Bowers. You'll see on Sunday. You'll feel it in practices. You'll see the energy in the building. You'll see it on our YouTube channel because go look at all the shorts that were posted of us working out on the training facility, on the field in practice, in the weight room. That stuff was not being posted with McDaniels and Ziegler because they wanted everything to be like a military base. And AP was like, this is a football game. We are a team. Let's show people how hard we're working, how much time and effort we're putting into this thing. So when we win games, we can go back to these videos and go back to these press conferences and say, here's the receipts. Why are you so surprised that we're in the mix to make the playoffs? We've been showing you and telling you all off season, this is how it's going to go. And for some reason, you've been saying the opposite. Look, words are words. I get it. You have to do it on Sundays. But here's the videos of us working our tails off. And here's the statistics of what we did last season. And we're not going to carry that over now because why? Because we didn't improve at quarterback? Like I said last week, we'll see. We will see. Antonio Pierce will be the next great Las Vegas Raiders head coach. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. Check out the Patreon. It's bumping. We got some new members. $1, literally $1 to join the Discord. You get ad-free content, your name at the end of the credits, exclusive Patreon content, all of it. Please be sure to check that out. Patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. Link is in the description below. If you can't do that, that's totally fine. Drop likes, drop comments, subscribe. We're so close to 6,000. That's insane. 6,000 people. Unbelievable. Please be sure to subscribe. It is free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.